If you're buying HomeKit native cameras in 2026, you are overpaying for worse hardware. And I'm about to make some people very angry about it. Well, that's the argument that by the end of this video, I will either won you over, or you will be writing a strong worded comment with the word actually in it. Either works for the algorithm, so we're fine. Reolink sent me 4 products free of charge for me to review, but this is not a sponsored video, meaning that I get to be honest about it, and they'll get to find out what this video about at the same time as you. So let's run through what's in the box. First up is the Aqara G4 Pro. This is their flagship battery camera, 4K resolution, dual lens stitched into a single 180-degree panoramic view, ColorX night vision that doesn't need a spotlight on device, AI for person, vehicle, animal detection, and Wi-Fi 6, because apparently that's the thing the cameras do now. Second, the solar panel 2, 6 watts, USB-C cable, weatherproof and small enough that your neighbors probably won't notice. It just trickles power into the Argos, so you stop having to take the camera down every couple of months to charge it. Third, the U1 zoom. This is an indoor PTZ camera. It's 4K, 3x optical zoom, dual band Wi-Fi 6, person and pet detection, and apparently it can detect a baby crying, which is either useful or deeply unsettling, well, depending on your living situation. And fourth, the most important one, even though it looks the most boring, the Reolink Home Hub. This is a small black box that sits on a shelf and quietly turns the rest of these cameras into an actual system instead of gadgets, each living their own little world. They also throw in a 128 gig memory card, SD memory card, which I'll come back to it because it matters more than you think. Now, here's the catch, and it's a big one. None of these cameras work with Apple Home out of the box. Reolink does not support HomeKit, never has and probably never will, because Apple's certification process appears to involve sacrificing a small goat, and Reolink hasn't found one yet. Go figure. Now, this is the bit where most people shrug and say, well, that's a shame, and move on to talk about the app screenshots. I'm not doing that because I've got all of these cameras running Apple Home right now with HomeKit Secure video on both of them, properly working, and the way you get there generally changes the conversation about what you should be buying. So stick with me because the punchline is worth it. Most people buy security cameras based on 3 things. The number on the box, the app screenshots, and whether the brand has a logo on the packaging that matches their smart home platform. In my opinion, all of these 3 things are the wrong things to care about. They're the camera equivalent of buying a car based on the color. What actually matters, if you have ever lived with these things for more than a fortnight, it's much less exciting. Where does your footage live? Your network or someone else's? Does the camera still do useful things without a paid cloud subscription on top? How fast does the live view actually open when you tap the title? And what breaks the second you try to integrate it with anything else in your home? That's the lens that I'm using, not the marketing one. That it's been running for 2 months and now I have opinions kind of lens. It's not the one. And on that, Reolink is doing something generally different from almost everyone else. Let's start with the Home Hub, because this is the product Reolink undersells the hardest, in my opinion. And before we go any further, one thing worth getting out of the way. The Reolink Hub is not a HomeKit hub. I know the name causes confusion. Home Hub sounds like it should obviously work with the Apple Home, but it doesn't. And it will not appear in your Apple Home app. It will not bridge cameras to Apple. If you tap an accessory and your Home app and you wave your phone, nothing will happen. It does not know what Apple Home is. As far as concerned, Apple makes laptops. That's it. What it actually is a brilliantly designed local storage and management box for the Reolink cameras. And once you stop expecting it to be something that it isn't, it's the most underrated product in the entire kit. Here's what the Home Hub actually is. One is the single storage point for every Reolink camera on your network. So instead of having micro SD cards rattling around in every camera, which always end up corrupted at the exact wrong moment, everything records into one central box. Two, playback is instant. Open the app, tap the timeline, and it just scrubs. No cloud round trip, no buffering wheel, no apologetic loading message. It feels like watching a video from your own hard drive, because that's exactly what you are doing. Number 3, storage is encrypted, and Reolink has built in some anti-theft logic. So if a burglar walks off with a hub, congratulations, you get a very nice expensive paperweight. 4, it supports up to 2 1 terabyte micro SD cards. Reolink on spec, 2 slots, full terabyte each. The 128 gig card they sent me fills in 1. Drop in a pair of 1 terabyte cards and you've got 2 terabyte of local storage, which is properly ridiculous amount of storage for a box this size. It's incredible. 5. This is the one that matters the most. No subscription, no monthly fees. Every AI feature, every bit of detection, every bit of playback, it all works without paying Reolink 1 penny after you bought the hardware. So this is what local first is supposed to look like, and it's actually scarcer every year. That's the case for the Home Hub. Boring box, serious work. Setup is the boring bit, so I'm going to run this through like a man who has somewhere else to be. Home Hub goes first. Ethernet to the router, power cable in, drop the micro SD card into the slot, open the Reolink app and add it. Done. 5 minutes, most of which was actually looking for the Ethernet cable, which I knew I had it, but I couldn't find it, just to find it in the box, because it actually is included. Then the E1 Zoom. Plug it in, connect it to the Wi-Fi and you're in. Mount it to a wall, on the ceiling, or just leave it on the shelf. I went with the shelf because PTZ cameras on a ceiling always look like an office surveillance, and that's not the vibe that I want in my own house. Then the Argos 4 Pro. And here's one tip that generally matters. Pair the cameras before you mount it. Don't be the person who drills 4 holes in their wall, mounts it the camera perfectly, and then discovers that the Wi-Fi at that exact spot is held together with rope. And that's what happened to me. Pair it first, test the signal, then mount it. Solar panel 2 goes on after that. Find a spot that gets actual sun, mount the bracket, route the USB cable down to the camera, plug it in, 5 minutes if you're not fussy about the cable run. 20 if you are. Add both cameras to the Home Hub in the app and the whole system is up. Start to finish under 30 minutes once I decided where everything was going, which in smart home terms is basically instant. Right, the Argos 4 Pro. This is the camera that most people will buy this kit for, and honestly, I get it. The 180 degrees dual lens setup is the headline feature. 2 sensors stitched together inside the camera into a single panoramic frame. And before you ask, yes, the stitching is really good. There is a faint seam that you have down the middle, but you need to know where to look. Usually somewhere between the 2 lenses where the vertical line might bend slightly. In no use watching it in your phone or a Home Hub playback, honestly, you can't see it, you can't notice it. Now, the point of this camera is coverage. One Argos 4 Pro can do the job of 2 narrow cameras, a driveway, a side path, a wide front garage, anything where you would otherwise be putting 2 cameras to cover the corners. Point it at a single doorway and you are wasting it. Pointing at the 12-meter wide front of a house, and it's the right tool for the job. Image quality in daylight is proper 4K. It's crisp without being over sharpened. The colors look natural, and dynamic range handles without falling apart. At night, the ColorX mode is the standout feature. Most battery cameras at this price either will fall back to infrared or give you a black and white image that looks like a 2007 ghost hunting show, or they fire a spotlight at the offender and turn your driveway into a film set. The Argos does neither. It uses a larger f1.0 aperture sensor to pull in low light and just keeps adjusting the colors, even in conditions where my eyes could barely make out the shape. Detection is on the device. People, vehicles, animals. All decided by AI running inside the camera, not in some Reolink data center. So it's fast, it doesn't need a subscription, and it works even if your internet is down. The camera makes the call locally and tells the Home Hub what it's found. Live view opens in about 2 seconds when you're on your home network. A bit slower over mobile data, as you'd expect, but never long enough for me to want to throw the phone across a room or a wall. Something like that. Battery life depends on 3 things: where you install it, how much movement happens in front of it, and how much you ask the AI to care about that specific movement. If you point it at a busy road and you ask to alert it on every single passing car, every pedestrian, every cat, every gust of wind that moves a leaf, well, yeah, the battery will drop fast. If you set sensible detection zones, pick the detection that actually matter, and you don't make the camera do unnecessary work, battery life is great. In my install with the solar panel connected, the battery just stays topped up. I haven't touched it ever since I mounted, which is the entire point of having a solar panel. And this is the important. Solar isn't magic. If the panel is shaded, facing the wrong way, or in a spot that only gets 2 hours of weak winter sun, it will help less than the marketing suggests. A bad mounting location does not become a good one just because you added a cable. Plan the install, don't just stick it where it fits. Planning is everything to get the most out of it. Right, the E1 zoom. I have a general rule about indoor PTZ cameras, which is that most of them are a gimmick that you stop using after about a week. The motor is noisy, the tracking jitters, the presets work right up until you actually need them. And after about 10 days, you give up and you just point it at one thing like every other indoor camera. The E1 zoom is not that, and the reason it's not that, it's the 3 times optical zoom. Optical zoom on an indoor camera is extremely rare. Most cameras just crop digitally. They take the same image, throw away most of the pixels, blow it up, and they call that zoom. The E1 actually moves glass. Real lens doing real work, the way zoom is supposed to function. Which means that if you are watching a pet area from across a room, or monitoring a baby at a distance, or a doorway at the end of the hallway, you can actually zoom in and actually read detail. Not a smeared mess of pixels, a usable image. Auto tracking is also better than expected. Walk across the room and the camera follows you smoothly. No jerky catch up, no losing you behind the sofa. Pan and tilt are quiet, which matters more than people actually like to admit. A clicking motor every time something moves drives you mad after a day, and this one, it's really quiet. It's Wi-Fi 6 with person, pet and crime detection, infrared and night vision, and an Ethernet port if you don't trust your Wi-Fi. There is also a privacy mode you toggle from the app that physically stops it recording. Useful for the very specific category of person who wants both indoor camera and the ability to occasionally not have an indoor camera. So that's the kit. A wide door camera that does proper 4K in daylight and color at night, an indoor camera with actual optical zoom, a solar panel that turns battery life from a problem into a non-problem, and a hub that keeps every recording local, encrypted and out of the cloud. Individually, any of these, they are great products. Together, they start competing with setups that cost 2-3 times more. There is, however, one thing about the setup that really made me consider pack the whole lot and send it back to Reolink. I'll tell you what it is in a moment. But first, I have to tell you the Apple Home story because the two are connected. And this is the bit where every other Reolink review quietly gives up. So pay attention because the next 3 minutes is the whole reason I made this video. Reolink cameras don't talk to Apple Home. But here's the thing. Apple Home is a very polite host, and it will happily talk to anything that turns up to the door wearing a HomeKit name badge, which is where Scrypted comes in. Scrypted is an open source bridge. It runs on a server somewhere in your house, in my case, Home Assistant. What it does is it takes cameras that aren't HomeKit compatible, it presents them to the Apple Home as if they were, like a translator standing between two people that don't share the language, but they are both willing to be polite about it. I've got both the Argus Pro and the U1 Zoom running in Apple Home through Scrypted right now, with HomeKit Secure Video on both. Motion triggered, cloud recording, rich notifications, live tiles that load the lot. I'm not going to walk you through every setting in this video because that's a whole other 10-15 minute video of content, and most of you probably don't need it. That said, if you want a full step-by-step tutorial, drop a comment and I will make it as a separate video. But here's one specific thing you have to know, because it's the thing that almost ended with this whole experiment. The Argus 4 Pro's main 4K stream is encoded in H.265. Apple Home cannot ingest H.265, which means when you first try to pair a camera through Scrypted, the stream refuses to load at all. It's a black tile, just a HomeKit camera tile that looks like a malfunctioning TV. And the fix is to go into Scrypted stream settings to the Argus, and you just basically find the stream assignments and point every single one of them, local, record, remote, pre-buffered, the whole lot to the H.264 substream instead of the main stream. Everything else, just leave it as default. Save, restart, it's done. This means you are feeding Apple Home the lower resolution stream, not the full 4K mainstream, which sounds like the downgrade, and it is. Well, sort of. We'll get into that. Right. Now you're probably thinking, hold on, you've just downgraded a 4K camera to a sub-stream resolution just to get into Apple Home. What's the actual point? Well, here's the point. HomeKit Secure Video caps every single camera at 1080p. All of them, regardless of what the camera can do. Your fancy 4K Logitech Circle View, recording to iCloud, at 1080p. The Aqara G5 Pro, 1080p in Apple Home. My own Aqara G4 doorbell, 1080p. My Aqara G100, also 1080p. I run an Apple Home setup and I've made peace with these. But this is worth knowing because it changes the whole maths on what you're actually getting. It's an Apple platform choice, not a camera limitation. If your camera records through HomeKit Secure Video, it's recording at 1080p, no matter what's printed on the box, no matter what the marketing says, which means that when I'm feeding the Argus 4 Pro sub-stream into Apple Home, I'm not actually giving up nothing compared to a so-called native HomeKit camera, because every native HomeKit camera is also recording at 1080p at the point it hits iCloud. The difference, and this is the bit that makes the title of this video defensible, is that my Argus 4 Pro is also recording the full 4K stream locally to the Home Hub at the same time. So I get the 1080p Apple Home experience for the convenience and the full 4K local recording to the Home Hub for moments where I actually need to read a number plate or identify a face. You cannot do that with a Logitech Circle View. You cannot do that with any HomeKit native camera. You get one resolution, and that's a kept one, and that is to do with HomeKit. I'm not going to pretend that this setup has no downsides, because there are actually 4 genuine trade-offs, and I'll be doing a disservice if I glossed over them. One is the Scrypted bridge is an extra moving part. It runs on a server in your house, so if the server goes down, the cameras go down in Apple Home. They keep working on the Reolink app, but Apple Home stops seeing them. So if you hate maintenance, or if I don't have to think about it, is your smart home philosophy, this isn't the stuff for you, because it takes some maintenance. 2, battery cameras are still battery cameras, even with a solar panel. If your priority is a wired PoE reliability, where the camera is never out of power, the Aqara G4 Pro isn't the answer. Reolink's PoE line is, but that's a different review for a different day. 3, the Reolink app compared to the Apple Home app is really clunky. It does a lot more, but it's not as polished. So if you want the same clean Apple-like experience everywhere, you're not getting it with the native Reolink app, and you'll be spending a lot of your time with your Apple Home anyway. 4, this isn't a proper 24/7 surveillance system. Neither Apple Home nor this Reolink kit does continuous recording the way a dedicated PoE NVR setup does. It's event triggered. If you need a 24/7 for business or a high-risk property, or just because you really want it, you are in a different category of this product. If those 4 things aren't deal breakers, this setup is honestly hard to beat at this price. So who should buy this and who shouldn't? If you're already an Apple Home user and you currently own a HomeKit camera and you made peace with it because of the recording at 1080p, you should be thinking very carefully about whether you'd rather have the same 1080p Apple Home experience plus the full 4K local recording for roughly the same money, because that's the deal on the table. If you're building a camera setup from scratch for an Apple Home house and you are comfortable running Scrypted on Home Assistant like I am, that's the bit that determines whether this is for you. By the way, then yes, this Reolink kit beats HomeKit native cameras options out there on hardware, on storage, on long-term cost. If you're not technical and you don't want nothing to do with the Home Assistant and set up Scrypted sounds like a sentence that should be illegal, then accept the trade-offs. That's the honest answer, and there's no shame in it. If you're someone who wants wired PoE, proper NVR, 24/7 recordings, and surveillance-grade infrastructure, buy a Reolink PoE kit. Not this one. Different product, different answers. For everyone in the middle, which most of you are, this Reolink setup is the one I'd recommend right now, full stop. Right, binary question for you in the comments. Because I want to settle this properly. Would you rather have worse cameras with cleaner HomeKit support or better cameras with Scrypted bridge sit in the middle? Pick one and tell me why in the comments below. Disagree with me, agree with me, call me wrong. Generally, I want to read it. If you want the full Scrypted walkthrough as a separate dedicated video, say so, I'll film it next. If you want me to do the same review on a properly wired Reolink PoE kit, full NVR 24/7, proper surveillance setup, that's also in the list if there's interest. Subscribe if this is the kind of smart home content you want more of. Honest, local first, Apple Home where it makes sense, Home Assistant where it doesn't. All these products I will leave a link in the description below, plus a 5% discount code. I'll see you in the next one.